when at 95, my mother went into a retirement home. There was nothing wrong. She just needed a different place to live, not be so dependent on driving in her car 5 miles to get a quart of milk. They said to her to please bring her medical records. And she said, I don't have any. And they said, you've never been to a doctor? And my mother said, no, I don't go to doctors. I'm a Christian Scientist.
I don't know if I should talk about my family history, though. It's a little bit complicated.
My whole life, all I really wanted was my mom's attention, for the fact that she never really gave me attention. And everything I did, I honestly did for her.
In a lot of ways, it's like my mom is very nurturing, but not in like the same affectionate way I am in.
I didn't grow up with my biological mother. She left when I was about 6 months old, and my older sister was about 2.
My dad's in Argentina. My mom's in Korea. I was raised mostly by my mom, though. But she remarried and moved to Korea when I was 15.
And I think there was like moments where she could see us if she was being drug tested and, you know, that whole kind of legal shit going on. But so I didn't grow up with her.
After a while, which was 8th grade, that's when I started realizing no matter what I do, you know, even though I was winning all these squash tournaments because I was into playing squash, and I was writing poems, doing poetry contests, and just putting myself out there and doing so many different things and making sure I'd succeed and I'd be number one. And I only wanted to be number one for her.
She's really good at knowing what to do in the moment and for every moment, but don't necessarily know if she has like the loving touch that I did. But at the same time, she could separate herself easier from her partner, and ultimately she left my dad for that reason.
She did have a big impact on me, though. Like, I consider myself an American, first and foremost. Well, I guess more accurately, a New Yorker, as annoying as that is. But the Korean upbringing did have a big imprint on me in terms of, like, not tradition as much as manners and how you try to be perceived by other people. Like, and I really resent this part of myself, the respect for authority, and as anti-authoritarian as I'd like to describe myself as, and as much as my ideologies are, it just clashes with how I was raised as a kid to, like, respect a teacher, and, like, that's such a fucking Asian thing to say. Oh, God.
And to show her that this is all for you, and no matter what I gave her, whether it was my medals or trophies or my essays that got A+, it was as if it was never enough for her. She never gave me that reassurance that she was proud of me, or that, you know, that she was happy that I was doing what I was doing. And that's where I started feeling unfulfilled as a child and started feeling more depressed and sad.
My sister and I actually met her, well, at least I was 18 the first time I met her. And kind of, I guess, long story short, there was, you know, my dad just, you know, trying to kind of replace a role that was mother, you know, married someone who was kind of extremely fucking shady. But so I had one stepmom, and now I have Susie, who's my second stepmom, and yeah, I don't feel like I'm not explaining this right, but I've had two stepmoms, and it's all been, it's been fine. It's not ideal, but it was basically just poor decisions made by adults, and my sister and I we're just the product of it. Like, we had no say, and your parents only want what's best, but sometimes judgment gets kind of clouded and stuff like that.
So when it came to the time where I had to go to boarding school and I had got accepted to boarding school, she was very happy for me, and I think that was the first time I saw a smile on my mom's face about me achieving something. And I thought to myself, okay, you're happy that I'm going, but honestly, you're the reason why I'm going. You're the reason why I want to leave. You're the reason why I'm questioning life itself.
I have a very interesting relationship with my biological mom. It's kind of like having this idea that, you grow up your whole life, till you're 18, 19, and what is that you don't have a mom, sort of thing, and then all of a sudden you're allowed to see her because, you're fucking 18, and you're allowed to see them, and it's a really strange kind of shift of identity where you're like, oh shit, okay, now I have a mom and I can't, or I won't tell people, I don't know my birth mom. But yeah, it's a really strange kind of shift that I feel like maybe was not hard for me to get used to, but we're just different. And yeah, it's a process for sure. It's you can never get back those years, and yeah, it'll just never be the same. But it's just tough. I don't know how to talk about it. It's weird. It's a lot, especially when they're not. When you meet them for the first time, they're not as good as you want them to be, or they're not as strong or as stable as you want them to be, and they're still struggling with all these things, and you kind of question. You're like, well, I'm supposed to be the kid. Why do I feel like the parent? And that's tough.
I came to New York. I deposited my son with his dad and his new girlfriend, and this time it was easy peasy. It was great. But I feel like I'm a child again. So when I how to explain this, Vase? I have to figure out how to say this. So, I've been a little irresponsible, and I had a night out, and I was kind of everything. And the next morning, I just crashed, and I started getting paranoid, and I called my son's dad, and was like, you have to pick me up. I don't know what's going on. I wanted someone to protect me. And then I went to their house, and I slept for, 30-something hours, and they were worried. And I started asking his girlfriend, can you please bring me a glass of water? And I went to the shower and took a bath, and I called her, can you give me a razor? And I was like a baby. They were adopting me. And it was great. It was great to feel I'm the irresponsible one, and you need to take care of me. Oh, I don't know. So many weird things are happening when I'm 30. I mean, not weird. So many childish things are happening to me as I get older, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Because I have so much joy with it. I appreciate it, and it's great. And Ethan loves it too. I feel like the more I'm clueless with Ethan, the better mom I am. It's we're figuring this out together. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I'm thinking about my grandmother. I don't know why, but I'm gonna get mushy. In my short life, I have come to appreciate the different ways that people do life. So when I moved back to Minnesota unexpectedly, I got really close with my grandmother, who is from South Dakota and Minnesota border, and very small town. And she actually lives 2 miles from where she was born. Just think about that.
I try to go home once a year. Can't wait. I got to go back. Is it June 30th for my mother's 80th birthday? And now, first of all, we're having it at the church. And there's probably 200 people coming. The invitation, please don't bring any gifts. Just come with a funny story about Mariel, my mother. So, just totally going through my mind, trying to come up with something funny, something original, something that my brothers and sisters won't be saying. Lots of funny stuff. My mom was just hilarious. So. She raised all 8 of us by herself, and anyway, wow. Anyway, we were always running out of gas.
I think that probably the ultimate motivation, the ultimate inspiration really always goes back to my mom. Like, it was in 1972 when she opened her first little bake shop, and she was in Germany. My dad was in the military, and she really only did it out of her home. And her business cards had to say Mrs. because there was no legitimacy behind it if it didn't have her husband's name attached. But that woman taught me everything from how to be a business owner, but also just how to be a strong, good woman. And I think that that's so helpful to women now, is the fact that you don't need to be a weak person. You don't need to be a weak being and not have an opinion. And it's time to stand up and be like, no, that's fine. I got this.
I think about her because she's responsible for all of the wonderful things that I believe I possess. Things like culture and grace and table manners and how one holds themselves up and how one interacts in social environments and that old world gracefulness and femininity.
My mom's a badass. Be the middle of the night or whatever, always on the back roads because we were trying to save gas or something. She would just hail down a semi truck or something like that. We'd all hop up in the semi and go down to a gas station, get a gallon of gas and stick it in whatever car I think back in those days we oftentimes pushing, like in 1974, Buick Electra.
My mom, she used to, when she would go out to dinner with her friends or friends of my sister's friends, or like the family of my sister's friends, she would always like pay for the bill. It's a very Korean thing to like pay for the bill no matter what. You just like, you're cutthroat about like getting to the waiter first. My mom would be like, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And then sneak over to the waiter like, here's my credit card. And then she would come back and they'd be like, oh, like, all right, let's call the waiter over. And she's like, no, it's fine. But yeah, that's like something I've kind of picked up.
You know, I think a lot of times, like, the people that I idolize are people that, like, you know, work for the UN, or they've traveled a bunch, or they're authors, or, you know, all of these, like, things that gain, you know, recognition. And my grandmother probably isn't known outside of the, you know, 100-mile radius of where she lives. But in that space, she has made an incredible impact. She passed suddenly. I was 25 years old, and she came to visit one summer, and she would always come and stay a month with my father, and she'd stay and she'd cook and she'd be at the, you know, like a happy homemaker, and she'd do grandmotherly things and drive us or spend time with us and fix our clothes, sew things up, and fill the fridge and the cabinets full of food for everybody.
before she'd depart. But that particular visit, she left early, and she had gotten into some altercation or argument with her son, my father, and my stepmom. So she left this usual month vacation she'd spent in America. She left and she went back to Venezuela. And that was maybe August, September. And then, a sprinkle of months later, she was very sick. And I just remember my father and I flying to Caracas, and then she died. Not even 24 hours since our arrival. It was as if she was waiting for us. You know, we had a bunch of untimely deaths in my family. First, it started with my mother. She was 44, lung cancer. You know, I don't really remember much of it, except that I was sad. You wonder how, not so much, for a while you ask why when you're a kid, then it's more, it turns into a how, because for why there's no answer. There's no answer if you ask, oh, why me, or why did this happen, because it's part of life. So there is no good answer to why. I guess the best answer would be why not.
One morning she got up, took a shower. She dressed nicely for a 99-year-old lady, sat down in a chair. A woman from the staff came in and said, "Jane, you haven't come in for breakfast." And my mother apparently said, "Well, I feel a little tired." And the woman said, "Well, Jane, I'll bring you a glass of orange juice." And went back in about 5 minutes. My mother's in the chair, but she was gone. And it was just the perfect thing, perfect way. And I'm sure she planned it, because everything had to be done properly with my mom. And that was the way to go.
Whether it's her wit and her way of seeing things, or her her care and her I can't even describe it. The thoughtfulness in which she engages with people, it's profound. And you know, she always says, I talk to her probably every week at this point. It's great. I like call her on my lunch break from Midtown Manhattan, and it's crazy, and people are like running all over the place. And I like call my grandma, who's just like at home in like a town of like 30 people in the Midwest, and I'm like, "Grandma, I'm not doing great. You know, I'm tired or whatever." And I just check in with her, and she always says that she wouldn't change anything, because she feels like she's been very honest in her life, and very kind and good to people, and in turn the world has been good to her. And I think that's beautiful. She'll be 91 in February, and I really hope that when I'm 91 I'm able to look back and be like, I wouldn't change a damn thing. I feel good about it all.